All right, let's jump right in, shall we? Today's deep dive takes us into the heart of the Ottoman Empire during its second constitutional era.
Oh, this is a fascinating period, really. Full of change and turmoil.
Exactly, from 1908 to 1922, to be precise. And, it's crucial for understanding the birth of modern Turkey.
I
We're
saw.
working with a set of student notes here from a university course.
Great source material.
Yeah, should give us a good overview. So we'll trace the journey from, a sultan clinging to absolute power
Right.
to a nation completely reborn. So, if you're out there prepping for that big presentation on this era, get ready for some serious aha moments. Where should we begin?
Well, I think what's most striking is how this era really embodies this global struggle between tradition and change.
Yeah.
The Ottoman Empire, it was like a microcosm of this conflict. You see them grappling with internal divisions, external pressures, even just the very idea of what it meant to be modern.
It's so true. And it all begins, with this ruler who, perhaps unintentionally, inadvertently lit the fuse for all this change.
Right.
Sultan Abdulhamid II.
Abdulhamid II, a fascinating figure.
He was known for his iron grip on power, but he also implemented some surprising educational reforms.
You did, yeah. Abdulhamid's goal was to strengthen the empire, no doubt.
Of course.
But those reforms, they kind of had this fascinating unintended consequence.
Yeah.
They ended up cultivating this whole generation of intellectuals, military officers,
Right.
exposed to new ideas that challenged the Sultan's autocracy.
Of course.
And it really sparked this yearning, for a more liberal system.
Which is where, of course, the Young Turks come in.
Ah, yes, the Young Turks.
Not exactly a boy band, though the name might have you thinking otherwise. What was the driving force behind this group? Because they were pretty diverse, right?
They were, very much so, but they were united by this shared desire to shift the Ottoman Empire away from, that absolute rule.
Right.
And at the forefront of this movement, you have the Committee of Union and Progress,
Okay.
the CUP.
The CUP, right.
They started as this kind of, secret society almost.
Yeah.
Gained significant influence, particularly within the military.
Interesting.
Their main goal, their objective really, was to resurrect the 1876 Constitution,
Oh, okay.
which Abdulhamid had suspended, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that constitution, that represented this move towards a more representative government.
Yes.
But I understand there were some serious disagreements even within the Young Turk movement itself.
Oh, absolutely. There were deep divisions.
Yeah.
You had Prince Sabahaddin, for example.
Right.
He favored a decentralized state.
Yeah.
More autonomy for the empire's diverse ethnic groups. But then you have Ahmet Reza Bey.
Right.
And he envisioned a strong centralized state, a unified Ottoman identity.
Okay.
So you see these contrasting views.
Yeah.
And they really mirror this fundamental challenge,
Yeah. Right.
Could the empire modernize and actually maintain unity?
It's a huge empire.
It was vast, so diverse, it was a real dilemma.
So let's set the scene. All right. It's July 24th, 1908.
Okay.
And the Young Turks, led by the CUP, successfully force Sultan Abdulhamid II to reinstate the constitution.
Big moment.
What was the mood like?
Euphoria. I mean, just this wave of pure euphoria.
Wow.
Celebrations, they erupted across the empire. People genuinely believed, I think, that a more liberal, a more democratic Ottoman Empire was on the horizon.
Oh, wow.
Real optimism.
And that euphoria didn't last forever, did it?
Sadly, no. It was short-lived. The empire faced so many threats.
Internal, external, right.
Both. It really tested that fragile constitutional order. Prime example. The 31 March incident in 1909.
Okay.
This was a counter-revolutionary uprising.
Oh, wow.
Aimed at restoring Abdulhamid's absolute rule.
So basically undoing all the reforms.
Exactly.
So for those of us who, might not be as familiar with all the intricacies of Ottoman history, what exactly sparked this uprising?
Well, it exposed these deep anxieties, I think, within Ottoman society about the pace of change, the direction of change. Some felt the CUP was moving too quickly, too drastically.
I see.
They alienated conservative factions.
Okay.
People who feared the erosion of traditional values, Islamic principles.
Right.
And the uprising, though it was ultimately suppressed,
Yeah.
it nearly derailed the entire constitutional experiment.
Oh.
It led to the dethronement of Abdulhamid II, of course.
Okay.
He was replaced by his brother, Mehmed V.
Gotcha.
So the CUP consolidated its power, but with this, sobering awareness of the fragility of this new order.
Right. It wasn't a sure thing at all.
No, not at all.
And then, on top of all this internal turmoil,
Yes.
the Ottoman Empire faces a series of military defeats.
Yes, a difficult period.
The Italo-Turkish War.
Right.
That was from 1911 to 1912.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Balkan Wars,
Yes.
1912 to 1913. These must have had a profound impact.
They were devastating, really, devastating losses. The Ottoman Empire lost significant territory, Libya to Italy, and almost all of their remaining European holdings in the Balkans.
Wow.
Really fueled this growing sense of crisis vulnerability.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And it intensified those debates, of course, about the empire's future. What was the best way forward?
So with the empire on shaky ground, you have this wave of intellectual and political debate just sweeping through Ottoman society. It's fascinating how this period gives rise to so many competing visions for the empire's future.
It was a time of incredible intellectual ferment. It really was a melting pot of ideas.
Right.
You have Ottomanism,
Okay.
which sought to foster this shared Ottoman identity transcending differences.
Right.
You have Islamism,
Okay.
advocating for this pan-Islamic unity.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's Westernism, promoting the adoption of Western models.
Of course.
And then you have Turkism,
Right.
emphasizing Turkish nationalism.
Right. Interesting. So each ideology found support, I imagine, among different segments of Ottoman society.
Exactly.
Each with its own set of strengths and weaknesses. Could Ottomanism truly unite such a diverse empire? Could Islamism address the pressing economic challenges? Would Westernization succeed without provoking a backlash? And could Turkism navigate the complexities of a multi-ethnic state? What do you think? Which of these visions do you find most compelling and why?
It's hard to say, really. Each had its own, appeal and drawbacks.
I guess we'll never know how things might have played out.
Right, exactly. And as these debates were raging, the world was, on the brink of a cataclysmic conflict.
World War I.
Exactly, 1914. The Ottoman Empire, they make a decision that would have profound consequences. They join the Central Powers.
Huge ramifications, alongside Germany and Austria-Hungary.
That's right, a decision that's, sparked so much debate among historians.
It has. Some argue it was a desperate gamble, a last-ditch attempt to regain those lost territories and secure the empire's future. Others suggest it was just a fatal miscalculation driven by all these pressures.
It was a complex web of factors, really.
Yeah.
Internal and external.
Yeah.
One factor was the influence of figures like Enver Pasha,
Okay.
powerful member of the CUP.
Right.
He believed that an alliance with Germany, that was the best path to restoring the empire's strength.
Interesting.
But also there was this strong sense of resentment, towards the Allied powers.
Britain and France, mainly. Right.
Yeah, they were seen as rivals. They had their own imperial ambitions in the region, and they had already, chipped away at Ottoman territory.
They had, yeah. And of course, there's that incident with the German warships.
Ah, yes. The Goeben and Breslau.
Seeking refuge in Ottoman waters. Evading the British Navy. That must have put immense pressure on the Ottomans.
It certainly escalated tensions, pushed the Ottoman Empire closer to war.
To choose a side, really.
Exactly. It solidified this perception that the Allies, they were hostile, and the Central Powers, maybe they offered the best chance of survival.
So the Ottomans enter the war, find themselves in these conflicts on multiple fronts.
Gallipoli,
The Caucasus,
Mesopotamia.
Palestine.
Brutal campaigns, really. Immense suffering.
Absolutely. What was the impact on the Ottoman population, on the home front, so to speak?
Oh, it was heavy. Heavy toll. Shortages, food, essential goods. The economy was strained to a breaking point.
Right.
And tragically, within this context, one of the darkest chapters of the 20th century unfolds.
The Armenian genocide.
Yes.
It's a harrowing event, continues to reverberate to this day. It reminds us of the human cost of war, the fragility of peace, the systematic deportation and killings of Armenians by the Ottoman government. It remains, obviously, a highly sensitive and deeply tragic event. How should we, as students of history, approach such a complex and painful topic?
With sensitivity and a commitment to, historical accuracy. The facts, they speak for themselves. The scale, the brutality of what happened to the Armenians, undeniable. We have to acknowledge this horrific event. Within the context of World War I, the disintegration of the Ottoman Empire, the reminder of the dangers of unchecked nationalism, wartime propaganda, the erosion of human rights.
Absolutely. World War I comes to an end in 1918. The Ottoman Empire, the Central Powers on the losing side, the empire facing this bleak future. As the Allied powers gather in Paris to redraw the map of the world, What were the key outcomes of the Paris Peace Conference for the Ottomans?
It dealt a harsh blow to the already crumbling Ottoman Empire. The victors, driven by strategic interests and this, desire for retribution, imposed these severe terms on the defeating powers
Yeah.
for the Ottomans.
Yeah.
This meant the loss of vast territories, economic hardship, humiliation.
So it was about more than just redrawing borders.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
There was this deeper sense of, I think, resentment, this desire to punish.
To make them pay for their role in the war.
You could say that. The Allies viewed the Ottoman Empire as this fading power. They aligned themselves with the wrong side. And this sentiment, it was reflected in the harsh terms of the treaties, the occupation of Ottoman territories.
One event that really stands out.
Yes.
The occupation of Smyrna by Greek forces.
May of 1919.
This was a turning point, wasn't it?
Absolutely pivotal. Seen as this profound betrayal by the Turkish population.
Right. They'd fought in the war, suffered.
And then their homeland was occupied by a foreign power.
It's understandable.
It fueled so much anger, resentment, and determination to resist.
Of course. Smyrna, it really sparked the Turkish War of Independence.
It did. It united the Turkish people against this common enemy.
Facing the dismantling of their empire, the occupation of their land, they rise up. What form did this resistance take initially?
Well, all across Anatolia, you see these local militias springing up, volunteer forces,
Okay.
known as the Kuvay Milli.
Kuvay Milli.
They fought against the occupation. These were ordinary people, farmers, villagers, former soldiers. They represented this spirit of defiance,
Yeah.
the determination to protect their homeland.
They played a vital role in the early stages, right? Slowing down the advance of these pretty powerful occupation forces. But could they really stand against them in the long run? They were scattered, weren't they? Often poorly equipped.
They were crucial in those early days. Slowing down the Greek advance in particular showed the Turkish people's determination. But you're right, they were often fragmented, lacking this unified command structure, struggling to coordinate. What they needed was a leader, a unifying figure.
To really galvanize the resistance.
Exactly. Someone who could turn them into a cohesive force.
Yeah.
That's why they needed someone to bring them all together. And that's where Mustafa Kemal Atatürk steps onto the stage.
Atatürk. A legendary figure.
His arrival in Samsun, May 19, 1919, that's considered the symbolic start of the Turkish War of Independence.
Okay.
He really emerged quickly as this charismatic, decisive leader.
He did, yeah.
Traveled all across Anatolia, rallying people, uniting those scattered resistance forces.
So he understood that for them to actually achieve victory, the Kuvay Milli, they needed to be, transformed?
Transformed, exactly, into a regular, unified army.
Right. Professionalized, so to speak.
Yes, exactly. And he spearheaded this transformation, established a centralized command structure, discipline, a sense of national purpose.
That's a big shift. I imagine that transition from those local militias to this national army probably met with some resistance along the way.
Oh, absolutely. Some Kuvay Milli leaders were very suspicious of this move.
I can imagine, yeah.
They saw it as the threat to their independence, their local power.
Makes sense.
But Ataturk, he was able to persuade most of them that to effectively combat these occupation forces, a unified force, that was essential.
So Ataturk, with his vision for a new Turkey, he starts organizing this resistance. What were some of the key steps he took to solidify his leadership and galvanize the people?
Well, he convened a series of congresses, gathering representatives from all over Anatolia.
Okay.
You have the Erzurum Congress in July 1919, and then the Sivas Congress in September 1919.
Right. And those are crucial, right?
Absolutely. They defined the goals of the resistance movement. They declared the indivisibility of Turkish territory. They rejected the idea of foreign mandates,
Wow.
emphasized the principle of national sovereignty. So these congresses, they laid the groundwork for a truly independent Turkey.
Rejecting the terms imposed by the Allied powers, what was the international response to all this?
Well, the Allied powers, Britain, France, Italy, they weren't happy.
Right.
They viewed this Turkish national movement as a threat to their interests.
Of course.
They continued to support the Ottoman government in Istanbul.
Which they saw as more cooperative.
More amenable to their demands, yes.
But Ataturk and his supporters, they were determined to forge their own path, weren't they? Free from that foreign interference.
Absolutely. And this determination led to the establishment of the Grand National Assembly in Ankara, April 1920.
What did that signify? What did that represent?
It was a bold declaration of independence, a formal break from the Ottoman government in Istanbul, which was viewed as essentially being under the control of the Allies,
Right.
the Grand National Assembly, it became the legitimate representative body of the Turkish people,
Wow.
challenging the authority of the Sultan and paving the way for a new Turkish state.
So now we have this revolutionary government in Ankara, led by Ataturk,
Yes.
facing off against the occupying forces and the remnants of that Ottoman government in Istanbul.
It was a complicated situation.
What were some of the defining moments, would you say, of this Turkish War of Independence?
It was a hard-fought struggle against formidable odds. This newly formed Turkish army, under Ataturk's leadership, they clashed with Greek forces, Armenian militias, even French and Italian troops at certain points.
Right.
But there were key battles, like the Battle of Sakarya in 1921. That really turned the tide in favor of the Turks, demonstrated their resilience, their strategic brilliance.
The Battle of Sakarya, that was a major turning point, wasn't it?
It was a grueling 21-day battle. It really boosted Turkish morale and significantly weakened those Greek forces, paved the way for the final push.
Which was?
The Great Offensive, 1922, drove the Greek army right out of Anatolia, effectively ending the war.
It's incredible what they accomplished against such odds. Secured their independence, laid the foundation for this new nation.
It's remarkable, a testament to national determination and military skill. And of course, that Turkish victory in the War of Independence led to the establishment of the Republic of Turkey in 1923.
With Ataturk as its first president.
Exactly.
So we covered a lot of ground here. The second constitutional era of the Ottoman Empire, it was a period of such immense change, hope and tragedy, really intertwined.
It was.
We saw a sultan trying to modernize his empire, inadvertently sparking a revolution that would lead to its demise. We talked about those competing ideologies, the devastating impact of World War I, the horrors of the Armenian genocide, and ultimately the Turkish people's heroic struggle for independence.
It really makes you wonder, what if the Ottomans had navigated modernization differently or avoided the First World War? How would history have unfolded?
So many possibilities. What stands out to you as the most significant legacy of this era?
The birth of modern Turkey, that's what resonates with me. This period witnessed the forging of a new national identity, a transition from empire to republic. And of course, the emergence of Ataturk as this transformative leader. It marks the end of an empire, yes, but it also represents the beginning of a new era for Turkey, one shaped by independence, national sovereignty, and self-determination.
It's been a fascinating journey, really, through this pivotal period in history. If you're listening and preparing for that big presentation, think about how the events and the ideologies of this era shaped not only Turkey's future, but the broader landscape of the Middle East. The Ottoman Empire's collapse, the rise of nationalism, and the ongoing quest for peace and stability in the region. There's so much more to explore, but hopefully this deep dive has given you a solid foundation to build on.